Good afternoon, YouTube, and welcome to the Pipe Report. I am happy to have Coffee with Comment with me here today. So, Coffee, welcome.
Thanks, glad to be here.
I guess to start things off, can you tell everyone about your channel, when you started it, why you started it, and what's your end goal from it?
Yeah, well, that's kind of a long story, uh, if you're interested.
Have at it.
Um, I mean, looking at what my channel's become over the course of the last 6 months, it's really kind of more of an outlet for the repression. The voice for things you don't really say when you're part of the silent majority, and like you're so burnt out on what the world has become. It's falling apart around you, but you don't know how to deal with it. But during the 2012 election, I became really jaded about politics in general, and Obama had really screwed us with with the Affordable Care Act, and I felt like I couldn't really do anything about it. So as far as politics, I kind of just buried my head in the sand, and wasn't paying attention.
Yeah.
But a couple years later, Ben Carson had his famous National Prayer Breakfast speech, and I started learning about him, and there was all this commotion with people saying he'd make a great president. And at the time, I agreed because I guess Carsonism, was the way to go, right? It was my gateway drug back into politics.
Yeah. No,
But he was really heavily teasing his run before he even started.
yeah, I know. I heard that his prayer breakfast speech, and that speech is one of the greatest speeches I ever heard. And I wasn't really a fan of Carson, but it was great. I think Obama was in there too, right? He's kind of gave Carson like the evil eye look.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was a good
yeah.
speech.
Obama's sitting there in like the middle of the table, like right directly behind Carson. He's like making all these faces and shit.
Yeah. All right, continue.
um, Carson peaked way early, and he was basically irrelevant after the first primary debate. So I started looking at some other candidates. I've been living in Philly for a handful of years now, and Philly's practically married to Jersey, but I definitely don't like Chris Christie, even though I do respect the work he's done in Jersey, making it strong economically. Even though he kind of seems pretty corrupt, right?
Yeah.
But he's still like a conservative powerhouse for some reason. He does something stupid and his popularity falls, but then he bounces back. It could be all the blubber, but
Yeah.
I wasn't going for Christie.
A
I
Bridgegate
hated
was.
Cruz. What's that?
I was just saying, a Chrissy scandal at Bridgegate. That was a joke and a
Yeah,
half.
yeah, and I wouldn't put it past him either,
Yeah.
especially now with all this beach stuff.
Go figure.
My dad sent me an image of Chris Christie wearing a red shirt and white shorts, and he looked like a Pokeball.
Oh God.
But yeah, I'm not a fan of Christie really, and I hated Cruz because he was smarmy like Romney back in 2012, and I was getting like PTSD flashbacks. Paul Ryan was just as bad. Rubio I didn't like. I liked Rand Paul, but he didn't really project strength, and he must get that from his dad. These
Yeah.
hyper intellectuals that really can't really back it up.
Well, no, I always thought the same thing that Rand Paul doesn't have the spunk or the vivaciousness that Ron Paul had. Like Ron Paul, he keep you interested, get you going. Rand Paul kind of was more serene when he talked. He kind of spoke quietly and softer, whereas Ron Paul was getting you pumped up.
Yeah, I still think Ron Paul probably would have been seen as weak as a president.
His foreign policy was basically leave everyone alone, which I agree to some extent. I'm not
Yeah,
sure on his immigration policy exactly if he was for open borders or not. Me personally, I am not. I believe in a
right.
strong, immigration policy.
Yeah, yeah, I'm
So,
right there with you.
what's your then end goal for your channel?
Well, I'm kind of getting to that. The reason I started the channel is, you know, I just so tired of nobody speaking out, and I don't know any of my friends that are even aligned with me politically, really. Some of my friends, were Bernie voters, right? And that kind of led me down the rabbit hole of YouTube. So I discovered Stefan Molyneux because I've been unemployed for a while now.
Yeah.
I decided I'd brush up on my philosophy, so I start watching Stefan Molyneux videos. And then he starts getting all political, and I'm like, well, there must be something going on. I start following Trump, and I'm like, oh shit, because he's funny as hell,
Yeah. Yeah.
and and he just says whatever he wants, and it was so refreshing, especially because of the whole reason I ducked out of politics to begin with the Romney and Obama shit.
You know what's
But
funny about that too is that, people get upset like what Trump says or what Trump does. And
yeah,
my response always to that is, I mean, what did you expect from a reality TV star whose
yeah,
job was to get ratings by doing outrageous things? I mean, it would be synonymous with Kim Kardashian running for president and talking about her sex life and her exotic lifestyle. I mean,
right.
people wouldn't be surprised if she did that. I don't know why they're so shocked that, oh, Trump said this, Trump did that.
Well, this just should just demonstrate how fake and stupid politicians have become, right?
Yeah.
Because they don't seem like normal people. You get this guy in there like Donald Trump, and it's like, oh, he talks like we do. Because I run around and say shit just to make people upset. I know plenty of other people who do that online or otherwise. So, why should it be any different than a completely human president?
Yeah.
Maybe it's because politicians are lizard people.
Yeah, I heard about that. I saw some freaky videos with that too.
Good old Alex Jones, huh?
Uh, Gay frogs or something like that too.
Yeah. Well, so most of my friends were Bernie supporters, so I went to try to learn about Bernie, and that's how I ended up finding Six Hexenhammer. And watching that, he's encouraging people, you should be speaking out just like I am. I was a big fan of Owen Schroyer, who's now working for Infowars. Now I just don't watch him, but when
Yeah.
he was doing his independent stuff, it was very informative. And it was like every new video, he was just getting angrier and angrier about all the shit that was coming out of the media. And I'm like, I'm getting angry too. I think I can do this. So I set up a YouTube channel, but I'm looking for work too. So it's like I can't really show my face, and I
Yeah.
was struggling with conceptualizing how to actually do it. And then Trump gets inaugurated, and I'm like, all right, there's these videos floating around at the time on social media about the Melania frown. You know how it looked like Trump had yelled at her or something, and she frowned during the inauguration.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, fuck it, I can't take it anymore. So I did a video. It took me a couple days to actually do it because I didn't know what the hell I was doing. And I did a video debunking the Melania frown. And it kind of took off, so that encouraged me to stick with it. And really, so after that, the goal of the channel has always been to just be a creative outlet for shit posting and also talking about the issues. Because, getting involved in politics during the primary, a very different kind of political race, to where you can really have some impact online. I can't tell you the amount of memes I created.
Yeah.
I
Well,
didn't even know I was part of a great meme war until like this AIDS Skrillex stuff started happening.
that'll happen. I
Yeah.
remember like I had an old YouTube account, but I created this one when I first started listening to Sticks, and when I was just like 30,000 subscriber. I
Mm.
remember I always called him my hippie, my hippie. I'm gonna go listen to my hippie because I always
Yeah.
thought he looked like he would be a hippie. And then you listen to him for a while, you're like, oh, maybe not, maybe he's not like that, but it was,
Yeah.
it was a good nickname to have.
He's about as technologically impaired as a hippie. Uh, but yeah, I really the goal of the channel is I just want to work with people and find things we can do and on our level as citizens to make America great again. Because we now have our chance, right?
Yeah.
It wouldn't have happened under Hillary.
No. No.
And I believe that really the only way we can do it as citizens is having these conversations. Take a page from Molyneux and have a fucking argument
Yeah.
about why we should be great. But that's all got to start locally. So, I cover stuff happening in Pennsylvania and Philly. And as someone who's obviously right wing, I want to conserve our heritage and history, but I'm still not afraid to shake things up.
Yeah. I know with
So,
me too. Like I spoke with Zuan Politicon. She's on the
yeah.
left, and it seems nowadays that you cannot actually have a conversation with someone who has an opposing political ideology without getting hated on, and attacked and all this stuff. So I agree with that. It is important to actually speak to people who you disagree with instead of just yelling at each other and trying to kill each other, for lack of a better word.
Well, it's a common, it must be a common trait among leftists, right? That they can't entertain this, opposing ideas. At least in my friend circle,
Yeah.
I lost about 20 friends on Facebook for what that's worth. But these were people that I interacted with. I known them for years. Um, I came out one day on my Facebook page and said there is no rape culture.
But yeah,
That was called the that day will ever forever be remembered as the Great Purge.
I believe it. With that, as you bring that up, I mean, it's funny. You try to tell people on the left that, and they tell you, "Well, prove it." It's like, well, go look at the surveys. On the surveys, they ask you questions like, "Did you ever have sex when you were drunk?" And if you put
Yeah.
yes, they would put that as rape. If you were really drunk, did you have sex? Yes. Okay, you were raped that night. So this notion that there is a rape culture is based on a false premises, based on a false survey. It
All
just
they
doesn't
need
make
to do
sense.
is go stand on the corner for 8 hours and see what happens. I guarantee you, you're not going to get raped. I guarantee you.
Hmm.
So, because you couldn't do that in Saudi Arabia or something.
No, oh no. That Linda Southside or whatever. I mean, she
Yeah,
declared jihad in the White House. I would love to go see
saw
her do
that.
that in Saudi Arabia or go do that in Pakistan, Afghanistan. See what happens. She should be
Yeah,
happy that she's able to say that crap in America because she couldn't say that anywhere else. She wouldn't be allowed to.
yeah, yeah. A lot of people don't realize this. You want to whine about women's rights. Go try and do it somewhere where it matters.
Yeah, right. All right. I guess can you explain what net neutrality is and what are your thoughts on it?
This is one of the issues that I have, stayed on top of, even though I was kind of out of politics for a while. And for me, net neutrality is the idea that internet service providers should take a hands-off or a neutral approach to providing internet connectivity. We know those greedy assholes at Comcast and Verizon would like nothing more than to find ways to make you pay for what's really basic human right at this point. Um, so people who espouse, net neutrality believe that internet service providers, if allowed, would offer different tiers of internet, separate from the way they do it today. So, you have your basic 10 megabaud per second internet connection. The concern is that, say you want to watch Netflix, as many people are instead of watching, cable,
Yeah.
uh, there could be a clause in your service agreement saying that they reserve the right to alter speeds when connecting to certain sites or services, or aren't responsible for degradations in connectivity or something shady like that.
Yeah.
Your connection to Netflix would probably be crappy, and your shows would just be buffering all the time. I mean, so they would basically make you pay for what's already included in the price currently. The expect you pay with the expectation that no matter what you try to do on the internet through their service, your service is subject to only the limits of the speed you agreed to pay for. And they're mandated to uphold that. If you're paying for 10 up, 10 down, that's what you should get. They're not allowed to deprioritize like Netflix or World of Warcraft. All traffic's equal. But if net neutrality were to ever fail, they'd be snooping your use of the internet service in order to regulate your access based on your own, their own interests.
Yeah. I did a video the other day. It was based on CNN's parent company Time Warner merging with AT&T. And by
Yeah,
doing so, what they could do, they could have a monopoly like on a lot of communications. Well, what's really scary now, if net neutrality does fail, what could happen would be that merger between AT&T and T and Time Warner could be so huge, and then if AT&T has the power to dictate speed of the internet, for people who have AT&T, they could essentially build up like a whole left-wing platform
yeah.
for websites that are right-wing, you cannot go there because it's too slow or it doesn't let you. But on CNN, other sites like that, it'll be quick internet speed, so they can actually
hmm
garner more viewership just by doing that.
I think that if they were to ever go that route, uh, the people on the deep web, these like fringe, people that are even fringe for like 4chan, would probably develop some kind of bomb and just some kind of like internet virus bomb that would just destroy internet service completely.
They should
And
too.
then they just bring Tor up as the alternative.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah,
The rise of the deep web.
I plan on I kind of plan on doing a video covering all this net neutrality, and I guess just really quick to break it down for those who's listening. I mean, you kind of did, you kind of said it already, but basically, service providers can dictate your speed of the internet, like what sites you can go to, what works better, and they can do that and basically control how you surf the internet.
Yeah, well, these companies donate to politicians, the max amount every chance they get.
Yep.
That you can go to, it's called opensecrets.org, and just look at what companies donate to what politicians.
OpenSecrets.org, huh? I gotta check that out.
Yep. I always go there for my Comcast figures.
Nice.
Because Comcast is big here in Philadelphia, but there's, even though they provide a lot of value to the economy here, they're still corrupt, and I still hate them. So
Yeah. So what's your degree, and if you don't mind me asking, like, what are you looking for? What kind of job?
I have an associate's degree and 8 years of experience in information technology, help desk, desktop support. What I transitioned to in my last job before it unfortunately ended, I was doing a lot of technical writing, trying to translate technical information for like regular users and helping them use some of our proprietary applications.
Yeah.
My bachelor's degree, which I'm close to completing, but since I'm unemployed, I can't really do it, is in neuroscience.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I started out as a pre-med major when I first went to college, so I did all that
I would have
stuff.
guessed that about you.
Really?
Hmm.
Yeah. I changed it though eventually, and now I have a bachelor's in applied science and energy management, so kind of some business courses and then some specialty in like clean energy and solar, all that stuff. And
Right.
I guess it's kind of off topic, but what do you think of John McCain diagnosed with aggressive brain cancer?
I did a video. I covered this yesterday. I do a news roundup called Biweekly Bullshit, and I covered some of like Washington Post put this article out about one of the U.S. senators tweeting an article out that said, "Just fucking die already," and then she puts "Amen" on the link to this article
Jeez.
on Twitter. So I mean, I kind of resonate with that sentiment. So I kind of I did it. I covered it yesterday in a way to kind of avoid hate speech accusations. But yeah, this guy has repeatedly fucked us,
Yeah.
and our future generations. And you know, he's got millions of dollars. He doesn't need to be a U.S. senator. You
Yeah.
know, he and he's. I don't know, for whatever reason they're going to keep electing him in there. So he just needs to die. So people stop seeing the name.
Yeah. In the
Name
past,
recognition is huge in politics.
well, like one of my subs, he told me basically that John McCain will have the best healthcare. He can get the best healthcare of anyone here. So
Yeah.
you really shouldn't feel sorry for him. And me
Yeah.
personally, I don't really feel sorry for him. I feel sorry for his family because you can't help who your parents are. So I do feel for his daughter and stuff like that. But with John McCain out of Congress, either dead or retired, this world, this country will be a lot better off. The only thing he cares about is perennial war with Russia. He wants to perpetuate war with Russia all the time. He's obsessed with it. He can't help himself.
Well, maybe that's part of the reason. Maybe that's just a result of his brain tumor. Maybe Russians planted a tumor in his brain.
I heard someone on my video of John McCain that wrote a comment. Russia hacked into his brain and gave him cancer. I thought that was great. That was a great comment.
Uh,
Alrighty, moving on. So recently, excuse me, the House of Representatives decided to allocate some funds for Trump's border wall. I believe it's like 1.6 billion. What do you think of that?
I'm sorry. Can you repeat that? I'm getting some kind of interference.
Do you agree with the concept of building a wall, border wall?
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to go down there and build it, right? The thing is, I I lived. I spent some of my early years in Texas with my family. My dad was in the army. They hate the Mexicans there. Now I don't hate the Mexicans, but like when you have like a predominantly like white society, and you go somewhere outside of it, and you see like there's just like trash everywhere and broken down machines and lawnmowers and stuff, and these people hanging around that aren't really interested in being a part of your culture. You harbor some kind of resentment for this, right? Um, Mexicans aren't coming here to participate in the American dream. They just want to get money and ship it back to their own country, and it's really tough. On one hand, it's like it sounds kind of racist because you're like, oh, these freaking Mexicans, but they're screwing themselves too by coming here. They could spend all that time and resources and money, trying to build something in their own country, but instead they come here to just suck off our government tit, and I don't think that's right.
Yeah, with that too, though, I guess this I would have to kind of disagree with you on the wall. I mean, if my theory is if we can get the wall for free, essentially, paid for by Mexico or on reducing trade deficit, whatever, then I'd say go for it. But if it costs the taxpayer money, I think what Congress should do is make it so illegal immigrants don't get the entitlements over here that they come for, like health care and welfare and food stamps. They come here for entitlements. You take those entitlements away, uh, it will drop exponentially. There will be like no illegal immigration because there's no point to come over here. It's a losing enterprise.
I think we should do both because they're still going to be shooting drugs, running drugs across the border. Um, there's still going to be those people that are coming over just because they don't give a crap about the law and killing people. That's how we get the Kate's Law thing happening.
I hope Kate's Law does pass the Senate.
Yeah. The problem is that these are low IQ people. They don't really care about the effect they have on our society. They just want to get theirs and do what they can with it. I'm not saying all of them, but the criminals that come over here, it's a huge problem on the border states. You had McCain when he was running even saying he wanted a fence.
Well, I know in 2006 the Congress actually passed the border wall, and it was who voted yes on it? Obama voted yes on it. Hillary, Joe Biden, all these people
Yeah.
voted yes on it. But now all of a sudden it's deemed racist.
Yeah, well, when it becomes a partisan issue, whether you support it, yourself or not, um, it- you it's part of the whole polarization in politics, really. So whether you agree with it not or not, you kind of go along the party lines.
Yeah.
And it's not a racist thing. I think that it would be great for these border states to have this wall. It's going to need to be sufficiently high enough and sufficiently guarded, and probably have solar panels on it.
I did a video. I mean, this is back when I first started YouTube, and basically I was discussing the wall, like, would the wall work and stuff like that. And I had
Yeah.
some crime statistics, and I can't remember them exactly, but it was something of the effect of between 2008 and 2014, there have been over 600,000 violent crimes in Texas alone, especially in the Rio Grande Valley. So, I mean, that just kind of gives you an idea of that. There is crime when immigrants come over. It's not
Yeah.
racist to say so. They do kill, they do rape, they do beat people. Yes, there are good people, but at the same time, you can't discount the bad ones by saying, well, there are some good ones. It doesn't work that way.
So you don't think the wall would stop any of that?
I think the wall would slow them down. I mean, it definitely would slow them down, which would give our Border Patrol agents time. Like, in conclusion of my analysis, I basically said the wall would work, just like the Great Wall of China worked, just like the Israel wall works, stuff like that. But personally, I don't think we need the wall if we can cut their entitlements out.
Yeah, I don't think that's what really matters with the criminals. We're kind of maybe easy pickings over here.
I agree with that. Do you think the Democrats will let that pass in the budget?
I don't know. Obviously, if you've got people like Obama and Hillary who at one time supported it, there's going to be some people who could probably be convinced to support the wall. I don't know that they're going to do it willingly because, again, like I was talking about, this polarization. we've even got Republicans who don't want to work with Trump. So it's going to be kind of an uphill battle, I think.
Yeah. Well, I know last time too. I forgot what bill it was. I know it was on Trump's spending budget, and the Democrats threatened to do a government shutdown if they didn't change anything, and Republicans just gave up and said, "Okay, you guys are right. Here's your way." So I kind of wonder if the Republicans are going to acquiesce again to that. If the Democrats threaten to do a government shutdown, will the Republicans give in again? And they shouldn't. They should go for the shutdown if Democrats try to obstruct them. They have to stand up now.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Anytime, you have a majority, you have a mandate, you need to get this done. The American people support it. And you're going to stand there as the legislative branch and try to get in the way of it, a partisan section of the legislative branch, try to get in the way of it. You can go and screw yourselves, right?
Yeah.
Um, we don't need constant funding of the National Park Service. Most of these parks will take care of themselves.
Yep.
I spent, I've been all over to national parks. Valley Forge, love Valley Forge. Pine Barrens in New Jersey. These places, they don't need to be staffed, on a regular basis. They'll survive maybe 6 months, 8 months, perfectly fine. I think Six was saying, there will be community organizations that will arise to go clean these places up if it gets real bad.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I believe that because people are pretty lazy. That's why we pay for all the stuff that we do out of our pockets. In terms of, you know, supporting some of these people, like just supporting Obamacare and all that. But I think that federal government, I think that would be the best thing that could happen. Have a federal shutdown, and we'll see what services we can go without and which ones we can't.
Yeah.
I think that'll give Trump the insight he needs to cut even more.
So, if the Democrats continue to obstruct Trump, do you think we should do what Trump suggests, which is get rid of the filibuster?
I think the filibuster is a horrible thing. That doesn't seem like something that is part of the democratic process. That's just it's what do you call it? It's a polar tactic, right? Because the way it works, you have to have a Senate majority of like what 96 votes to overcome a filibuster.
No, it's
So
60 votes. It's
is
a
it
three
60?
fifths of the Senate. Yeah, three fifths.
But in the first, so they've got to get people who aren't even in Congress who should be, to show up to try to counter it. I don't know. I don't think that's really the way that our system should be working.
I'm still kind of open ended on that as well. I do agree with getting rid of the filibuster when it comes to nominating and confirming cabinet members and officials like that. Because
Yeah.
that wasn't in the Constitution, but the filibuster for legislation that actually was in the Constitution. So as a constitutionalist myself, I can understand why they did it, but I also kind of agree with you that right now it is kind of being abused a lot. Like people can just obstruct any kind of legislation they want by using a filibuster. And
Yeah, it's like every other week.
yeah, and what's crazy about it, like 60 votes you need to do a closure vote. It's called the closure vote. Basically means that you stop the debate and you vote on the bill. So
Right.
there's 52 members of Republicans in Congress, so they need 8 more. So a suggestion I actually thought about was instead of removing the filibuster, maybe lower it to like 55 votes or something like that. So you can actually still get support from other people in the aisle, but at the same time, you can kind of keep the Constitution in place.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. They should change the filibuster to this, right? You can filibuster. Uh, you can filibuster, right? But every other time you attempt to filibuster, it must be a last man standing brawl. Okay. And whoever side wins, they get to push their agenda through.
Like a brawl, you talking about like a fist fight or what? Just
Yeah.
stand up? There we
Yeah.
go. That could work.
You stand. Let's see how much conviction you have for these bills.
A Teddy Roosevelt, when he was a state senator, he actually walked up to somebody on the middle of a debate and knocked them out because the guy
Yeah.
was like talking crap about Teddy Roosevelt, like how he's just a little kid, a baby, because he was really young at the time, and Teddy walked up and knocked him out. Actually,
You'll see this will be a great place for retired NFL and people like The Rock, right, in the Senate.
I can see that. Yeah. It's uh,
We don't force people to stand up for their ideas anymore.
no, I
They,
agree.
they they have to like whine and complain, be like crybabies, or use back channels because they're not forced to like stand for it out in public.
That's one reason too why I think that Congress needs term limits because all these
Yeah.
people in Congress, they're all backed by these corporate backers, so they do the. Oh yeah, I kind of bring that up because here's what I was going to say earlier. Here's what worries me about removing the filibuster is that if you remove the filibuster, it's 51 votes, to pass legislation. Well,
Mhm.
there are so many senators in Congress that are backed by corporations and stuff that they could actually buy bills and law for them. Like,
Yeah.
so I mean, it's kind of worried about that. Can you really trust the politicians to do what's best for their citizens or what's best for their wallet?
Yeah, that's a good point, but I think some of that can be mitigated by a mandatory sunsets on laws. It could also be reined in by extending Trump's his 2-for-1 rule, right? Where you have to repeal two regulations to vote to pass one.
Yeah,
So if we do that to the law, regular laws, I think we'll find our legal code gets trimmed down quite a bit.
yeah, that's a good idea. Did you hear
It,
that?
it seems to be working for regulations because very few new regulations have been passed lately.
Well, I know last month too, the jobs report came out, and they were trying to get I think 175,000 jobs a month, and they got over
Uh-huh.
220,000. So they overshot their mark by a lot. So that's good.
Yeah.
They gained like a 50,000 more jobs essentially.
Well, you have to note that none of that is federal employees
Yeah.
because there's a hiring freeze in place. So that's pure job creation, not
I
phony job.
I actually have I have bad news on that. No, Trump actually canceled the hiring freeze.
Did he?
I have no idea why he did that. I was when it happened like a month ago, and I was upset. I did a video on it because I can't believe it. It was a perfect idea. I think it was Steve Bannon's idea.
Mm.
But yeah, I'm kind of disappointed in Trump in that one. I think that was his best executive order, and he should have let it ride. But
Yeah, they should have.
what are your thoughts on Representative Brad Sherman filing articles of impeachment against Trump?
Good luck winning re-election.
Yeah, right. Jeez.
This grandstanding, they stomp around, they act all angry, throw their tantrums, and then when they don't get their way, they get even louder, right? Well, it doesn't work. It's not going to work, okay? You didn't have the support to do it when you were just throwing a small tantrum. What makes you think throwing a big tantrum is going to have other people come to your side?
Yep.
And that's all it is. It's a temper tantrum.
Yep. It seems like the Democrats don't learn from their mistakes. They always want to choose to double down instead of actually changing their policy. Like for instance, they rehired, not rehired, it's a bad word, but Nancy Pelosi is still like the leader, minority leader and all this stuff, and they just don't
Career
learn.
politicians don't learn from their mistakes.
No, that's true.
They've never been forced to. It's again with the shady deals underground. Well, if I can't get this, going the way I want, then I'm going to see, who I can buy off to get it through.
Uh, so do you think there's a case for impeachment?
What are they going to? Number one, they can impeach him all they want. How are they going to remove him? Do they
Yeah.
really want Mike Pence? Do they really want that? Because they've been completely quiet on Mike Pence, right? It's going to take them another year and a half to drum up something on him.
Yeah.
Because they've been trying to impeach Trump before he even got elected.
Yep.
It's not going to happen.
Yeah, Maxine Waters, she's just obsessed with impeaching him, and she's she's such an airhead. Oh my god, I can't even listen
She
to her
has
about.
to do that because of her constituency.
It makes me wonder how California can elect people like Pelosi, Kamala Harris, what's Waters. I mean, like, what the hell are they doing over there?
Spend too much time in the sun.
Yeah, apparently. God. No, I agree with you. There's no really case for impeachment. They keep changing their Russia story to now it's like Trump's son was involved, and they keep trying to jump onto the next bandwagon story, the next narrative to try to hurt Trump, and it's just not going to happen. They should really just give up and start reporting actual news.
Well, I saw a video from Hard Bastard last night who came out and said, "Well, it looks like the whole Russian lawyers was a setup from the left to begin with,
Well,
as far as Donald Jr. is concerned."
I believe it.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
believe it. Yeah. I mean, this country is not innocent. I mean, the statism is real. It happens all the time in the deep-seated areas of our government.
yeah. People really need to realize this.
Yep. I guess on a funnier topic, what do you think of Kid Rock possibly running for the Michigan Senate?
I didn't really know too much about him before we were going to do this interview, but he really seems to care, right, about his community, his area, and that all goes back to the whole "Make America Great Again" thing, right? He's got star power, sure, but he's been working in his local communities to try to like raise people up. He does these businesses and hires workers from around his area. I was watching an interview of his where, he said he spent a lot of his youth in the hood. That's how he became so influenced by hip hop and stuff in his
Yeah.
music. So I think that if he genuinely wants to help Detroit with and that area, which it seems like he wants to, if he's genuine on that, he'll be a great fit for a senator.
Yeah. Personally, I've never really, I guess, looked into him much. I just read an article on it. I was like, oh, wow, that's shocking. Because first it was Trump, and then it was The Rock, and now it's Kid
Mhm.
Rock, and it seems like more celebrities are thinking about running for office.
Well, and they should, especially the ones with a genuine love for their community. And I think Kid Rock is one of those people.
Yeah, it seems like our Congress is just full of like sleazy lawyers and Well, I
Yeah.
hate to say lawyers because I would actually like to go to law school someday, so I'd probably become one. But our Congress is full of them, sleazy lawyers and politicians who only want to fill their own pockets and help their lobbyists and their special interest groups.
Yeah. Well, what we really need in this country is to get rid of the career politician. And one way to do that, of course, is
Term limits.
setting term limits.
Yeah.
But the only way that that's going to happen is if you get people in there who are not funded by these corporate entities. Comcast, for example. We wouldn't be having this net neutrality discussion because you'd have senators in there like my constituents aren't going to stand for this. You must be crazy. It wouldn't even entertain it.
Yeah.
Every 2.5 years or something, we've got to go out and be active about net neutrality again because they keep trying to ram this crap through.
Yeah. Do you
Um,
know by chance? I tried finding this. I couldn't. Could Trump just use uh, an executive order to do term limits on Congress?
I'm not sure, but I doubt it.
See, I tried finding it, and I couldn't really find any information on it. But if he could, I think what would happen. Let's say he did do that, the Congress could actually override it, which they would, or they could take it to the
Mhm.
Supreme Court. But I mean, if he could, I'd say like on this end of his years, just do it and see how the people like it.
Yeah, I don't think he should do that because I would see that as presidential overreach.
Yeah, I
And that was
guess.
something I was hugely critical of Obama for.
Yeah,
So, I mean, God Emperor Trump stuff aside, I don't really think that that's the way he should use his position.
yeah.
I think that if the people want term limits, right, then we should be able to make it happen. It's going to take time, but we should be able to make it happen.
Yeah, I do think people are waking up as well. I mean, there's people on the left are getting mad at their leftist leaders. People on the right getting mad at their Republicans, and I think there is a paradigm shift happening in the U.S. and I do hope it continues to grow.
One thing that I think might be in Trump's purview in terms of executive order would be to institute austerity measures that include a reduction in senator or congressional whatever salary
Yeah,
and remove the incentive for them to be there for so long.
yeah. That's kind of funny you bring that up. I did a video, I don't know, a month or so ago, and I said the same thing. Instead of doing term limits, what he could do, he could make it so their salary, which is $180,000 a year,
Jesus.
cut that to 60,000 a year. And no health care, no entitlements, because
20,000 a year.
yeah, no, because the founders that wanted people to come to the Senate and then go back home after session was over, not
Yeah.
career politicians. I mean, that would really weed out who is a career politician and who wants to do this for the best, for their constituents.
Yeah, there's too much of an incentive. There's too much power for each individual senator because of the kind of influence they get from corporations.
Yep.
So maybe decreasing their salary causes them to seek out more corporate sponsorship. Who knows? They really can't use that themselves anyway, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. There has to be some way to remove the incentive for them to be there as long as well.
Yeah. I know I was talking to Zoo on Politicon in our last one, and I told her that basically people in Congress, they leave a lot richer than when they get
Yeah.
there. I mean, because there's like book deals they do, TV reporting or
Yeah.
interviews, and it's insane.
Yeah, I mean, being a politician's big business.
Yeah.
So, you know, why do you need so much from you would see maybe capitalism maybe this is a great part of capitalism, right? It would be in the interests of a capitalistic economy, society, whatever, to have more turnover in Congress so you can sensationalize more people more often.
Right.
More book deals, more Senator what's his name from wherever.
So, speaking of Senator, what's his name? What do you think of Bernie Sanders being pushed to run for president again in 2020?
There's people that are going to buy into that for sure, but I'm just going to laugh at them at this point
Yeah, I mean,
because now
he'll
it
be.
was different when Bernie came out because I didn't know what he was all about, but now I know what he's all about. And anybody who supports him, I'm just going to laugh at him.
Yeah, the Young Turks are they're really supporting him.
Well, this is stupid, right? Because it goes back to like, what people used to say about wars, right? You're always fighting the last war. This demonstrates the ignorance and mental retardation of the left, right? They can't move on. They're still stuck in what happened now over 6 months ago.
Yeah.
It's time to, move on.
Well, I think too that the left had their chance with Bernie, this last year, but then they screwed over Bernie and went with Hillary, the queen of corruption.
Yeah, I'm still kind of like on the fence or whether I think Bernie would have actually gotten the nomination or not. Just by the way that politics appears to work on the left. Um, so I'm not sure if it's really people that are, these environmentalist hippies or whatever, or if it's really corporate leftism all the way through.
Yeah.
I'm really not sure. From what I see on the streets in Philadelphia, it's a lot of hippies, but if you look into some of these people, they're getting big money.
Yeah.
So
I know Bernie. He had three main policy decisions that he wanted. Free healthcare, free college, and $15 minimum wage.
right,
And if I wanted to, I could literally dissect all three of those, and I could explain why that would destroy the country. Those you cannot do
yeah.
all three of those at all. One of them you maybe could do, but it still wouldn't be good. But doing all three would bankrupt this country and make this country a hellhole.
I hang out on the campuses here in Philadelphia, right? Because I play Pokemon Go. It's a great place to catch Pokemon.
Nice.
So Penn College, University of Pennsylvania, Temple, Drexel, whatever. It's during the primaries and the election, there were these people, Bernie supporters that were out there, asking, sign this petition for free college and all this stuff. And I asked the one dude, I said, what makes you think this is free? He was like, well, what do you mean? I'm like, somebody has to pay for this. It
Yeah.
doesn't just happen.
Yep.
So no, but if we tax Wall Street, I'm like, no, you're not listening to me. You are going to end up paying for this one way or another,
Yep. No
and
such
you're
thing
not
as a
going to
free
know it.
lunch. Yeah.
Right.
No, I
You know,
agree.
that's the thing. You try to explain to people. It's like you go to like a conference or whatever and you get free lunch. It's not free. The conference paid for it, or your admission paid for it, right?
Yep.
You just don't fucking understand these things.
And like they always say the way to do it is to just keep taxing the rich, keep taxing the rich. Well, eventually, if you tax the rich too much, the government actually loses revenue. So it won't help them get their money they need for those entitlements.
Now, it's not only that. Rich people under current tax brackets, if they're single filing, if their tax is status is filing a single, right? If you make over, I think it's $115,000, your tax rate is 40% or 39.5%.
Yeah.
I'm looking at that. I'm like, well, shit. I need to either get really rich or just stay down here in the low brackets. 40%? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
And you know where that's all going. It's going to the Cheeto stuffers and the TV watchers.
What's really crazy about all this is that in the late 1800s, the Supreme Court ruled the income tax is unconstitutional, and now people can't live without it, or they can't even imagine living without it.
Yeah. I, well, it's so hard to explain to people that taxation is theft, right?
It is. It is.
the you go to someone and they're talking about all these the current thing right now since Obamacare hasn't passed. They want to focus on Trump's tax reform, right? I'm still looking at this because I just covered this yesterday. I'm like, I still would support zero tax, you know, if we completely remove the tax code. And I'm just wondering because I got a family reunion coming up, right? It's like, how am I going to spin this, right?
Yeah.
Imagine how much money you would have if you actually got your full paycheck.
Yep. That's a lot.
Just think about that for a minute because that's something you have in your hand like every week or 2 weeks, right? Just think about it. You have another two, three, $400 in your hands every week or two, right?
Yep. In a perfect world, there would be no income tax at all and no corporate
Yeah.
tax. But in also a perfect world, to do that, we would need to get rid of the Federal Reserve because a big reason we have income tax is because of the Federal Reserve and the
It's
IRS.
it's not only that, it's that people are lazy and they figure that if they throw money at a problem, it'll get fixed.
Yep.
So if there's poor people that are hanging around, not able to afford their housing, not able to afford food, instead of working through your church or some other community organization to provide food and services and help these people get on their feet, we figure the government's going to take care of it. Oh, yeah, we'll pay for WIC and all these other programs so that babies don't starve and whatever. And it's going to sound harsh, but I think they should starve if people aren't going to take care of them properly. Aren't going to have the foresight to calculate how they're going to be able to support these children if they have them. This will be fine. You're fine. Just die. Because I'm tired of paying for your ass.
This is why the Zeitgeist movement would fail. Have you heard about the Zeitgeist movement?
No.
It's basically like a political movement that has no economy. So people just work for their own goods and services. So basically, everyone congregates to work for each other. But the problem with that is that there are lazy people that are
Yeah.
selfish, that they don't want to work for their lifestyle. So just gonna be abusing it like they do now.
Right. Yeah. It's one thing to like if you work for a company, right, and you find some way to automate whatever your job is, and you just sit there and screw around all day. That's one thing. But because you actually decided to implement a system, but it's an entirely different thing to sit at home, stuff in your face with food the government bought you. Well, not the government, but your neighbors
Yeah,
bought
right.
you indirectly, and and just decide that that's okay for your life because it's not okay.
Yep.
I was a kid, my first job at 15, right, working at a grocery store, and I'm like, why are they taking all this money from me? That was my red pill.
No, I agree. I mean, it is the income tax is unconstitutional. It was ruled unconstitutional. I agree with it. I mean, it's
Yeah.
basically theft. All this is theft. So, what do you think of CNN and other news outlets dissecting the Trump and Putin handshake and the Trump and Macron handshake?
They obviously have nothing better to do.
I know. Oh my God, I know.
I didn't even cover it because I'm looking at it. I'm like, who cares? I saw that Trump wasn't able to actually pull Putin's hand, when he does his like strongman shake.
Yeah.
So I thought that was interesting. But other than that, I'm like, I don't know if I would be sitting down to write a 6 page or 8 paragraph article on it.
That like it's like CNN and New York
Yeah,
Times, like wow, like what the hell else do I mean you must have something better to do. You have to
yeah.
have something better to do.
That's worth a tweet. That's not worth an article.
Yeah, right. No, I find it funny too. They're trying to, harm Trump however they can. So they try to find flaws in whatever Trump does. I mean, even a freaking handshake.
They're gonna cut off their nose to spite their face, right? To do this, and they are killing themselves. This is like, you should put we should have a regulation, right, where you put uh, hazard symbols and warning labels on fake news, right? Like, if you do this, you will kill yourself, just so that you're aware.
Yeah.
But they don't seem to be getting the message.
No.
Even with the people are still doing CNN memes, CNN versus Trump. It's hilarious.
Well, it's CNN's fault too. They try attacking that person who made the GIF, the
Yeah.
body slam, whatever.
I don't know what they thought was going to happen.
Yeah, right.
They obviously don't understand internet culture.
Yeah,
Even after the Great Meme War, they still don't get it.
I agree.
So much for bastions of journalistic integrity. They don't know anything.
Well, I mean, that was so desperate. So you're mad at Trump. So you're gonna try to find a little kid who made something on his spare time and threaten him, essentially, blackmail him.
Yeah,
It's like, wow.
yeah, that's not okay. Or Chris Cuomo, whatever the hell, Chris Cuomo coming out and saying, looking at the WikiLeaks emails are, the DNC emails
It's
were illegal.
illegal. Yeah.
Like, are
Chris,
you kidding me?
Chris, a queer mo, I like calling him. No, yeah, Chris Como, he is probably one of the worst news anchors. There's a lot of bad ones, but him, like, he'll be proven wrong by a guess. Then he'll just keep on doubling down, and he makes
Yeah,
himself
he
look
does
like a fool.
exactly what Antifa does if you try to talk to them.
Yeah, exactly.
You
Yeah.
can have a conversation, you can lay out your points, and they go right back to calling you racist.
Yep. Um. Yeah, I guess that's all I have. Do you have anything you want to talk about?
Yeah. Here's the thing. Do you think that the news media should completely die, or is there some other way that they can contribute?
It depends like on how broad you want you make the news media. Like I think Fox, MSNBC, and CNN should definitely die, but like smaller outlets that are online, I mean those should prosper in my opinion because that's actually my goal on a channel. I want to make a news website eventually and get it kind of big. So it's kind of hard for me to say they should die when I'm trying to become one.
Right. Well, here's the thing, right? When I do my news, right, I have to source it from other news sites because I don't personally know what's going on.
Yeah.
I don't personally have connections to Russia or even the next state over. So how am I supposed to know what's going on? This is the thing, right? You've got these big multimedia news organizations that have these connections that are able to get information out from these other places. I think that instead of them completely dying, they should refocus their efforts on just reporting the facts. If they could do that, we wouldn't be having this problem.
Yep. Yep. Well,
But they probably won't. So
no, I mean they're so politicized nowadays. They have to get their opinion out with the news. They can't just report the news anymore. It has to be spun to fit their certain paradigm.
well, even Infowars, as big as they project themselves, they still have to source their topics from the old media.
Yep.
So I think that's something worth mentioning that people might not put together.
No, yeah, I agree with that completely. Like a lot of my videos, I do screen capture monologues and I go over news articles, but those news articles aren't what I made. They're not what I found out. So,
Yeah, and like Drudge Report, right? You go there, it's a collation of other news sites. So, I mean, I'm sure he write some of his own articles. I don't really spend a lot of time on that site, so I'm not sure. But that's the thing. They're still sourcing news. They're still driving the news apparatus,
yep.
and we have to find some way of reclaiming that.
You know what I was I was talking about like if I would do a news website, what I thought would be a good idea. I mean, I would have to really think about how to work with it, but it'd be kind of cool to have like almost a YouTube news website where a bunch of different YouTubers post their own news, all this stuff like this, so then
Yeah.
people can have a different viewpoint other than the corporate media. They can actually look and see what other YouTubers think from all on the whole political spectrum, and go from
Gonna have
there.
like a little panel.
Yeah, I think that'd be pretty
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, that would be. You might want to like. I don't know if you're a fan of H.A. Goodman or not, but if you check out his website Counterpropa, it's a little bit similar to what I think you're describing, except it's just his videos up there, from what I remember.
Yeah, I was a sub to him during the election. I think I still am, but I really don't watch him anymore. To be honest,
I don't either.
I kind of even stopped watching Sticks a little bit. I kind of started slacking on that.
Yeah, well, it's just like okay, you have to. On one hand, when you're doing news, right, you have to be you got to stick your hands deep into the the muck and the mire of the fake news and try to find out what's real and what's not. And when you're doing news yourself, you really don't have the time or luxury to be watching other people
Yeah,
unless they're particularly insightful. I think that Stefan Molyneux, like I get about halfway in my analysis to where he gets, and he's like another 2 or 3 levels beyond that.
yeah.
So I always watch him, and try to take my cues from that. But yeah, especially on issues that I don't know what's going on, definitely I'll watch more videos. But all in all, I'm mostly sourcing it, myself by digging around rather than watching a video on it. I still watch people I like just because I try to support channels too because it's like not expecting people to do things you don't do yourself.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. I mean, I do like I post on yours and I go on
Yeah.
Text and Sticks. I do. I did post on Sticks today, and but yeah, no, like you said, when you're making your own videos and doing your own research, sometimes it is hard to find time to actually just watch all your subs.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard, but I do try to do it, and it's taking me now. It used to take me a week to get through all my subs. Now it takes about 2 weeks between YouTube and VidMe, and I still miss stuff. So
Yeah. Yeah, I should really maybe get a VidMe account. I don't have one. I guess I don't really use it though either.
yeah, well, I talked with Michael Black about this, right? And it's more you can view it more as like a backup repository where you can still get followers, that are separate from your followers on YouTube.
So in case like a YouTube shits out or something, then you kind of have a backup
Yeah, I mean, obviously you're not going to get
traffic.
the same traffic or the same following because yeah, I mean it's a very low barrier, but you still need to like sign up and stuff to use the site. So, but yeah, I mean in terms of like should YouTube ever shut your channel down or completely remove all political discussion, you still have a platform.
Yeah, that makes
And
sense.
you would have hopefully have been shilling it for enough time that people would know it exists. you know.
Yeah. I guess with that, do you want to tell everyone like any videos you have coming up or you did recently?
Today I have coming out. I'm just reading over the Gateway Pundit's Trump's first 6 months analysis, things that he's done over the past couple days. So look forward to that. And I I realize my channel is very eclectic. Um, just pick and choose what you like. Leave a comment because I love engaging with the feedback.
Yeah. Alrighty, well, I guess with that, thanks again for coming on. It was fun.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me.
All right, talk to you later.